Welcome, everybody, to our first Campfire Questions and Answers live. This is a pretty big setup. I'm a little nervous about everything. I'm seeing comments. We had a little bit of snafu on my test a couple days ago, and I'm seeing your comments. So if you're watching us on the live stream on YouTube or on Facebook, drop us a comment, say hi, let us know you're here. And of course, if you have any questions, this is a live questions and answers. So if you have any outdoor questions, whether it's about the topic we're going to talk about tonight, which is women's backpacking and camping tips, or anything else outside, Adirondacks, Western New York, hiking challenge, backpacking, gear, whatever you got questions about, feel free to put them in the comments. I'll queue them up and we'll go through them. So what we're going to do, I'm going to try to do these each month, and we're going to pick a main topic. This main topic is women's backpacking and hiking tips. And sometimes we'll have a guest, sometimes we'll have one of OC's guides, and sometimes I'll be solo. This month we have, I've asked our newest guide, Leah Glenn, to be a part of it. So I'm going to bring her on screen right now. And how's it going, Leah? Welcome.
Hi, Mike.
Hi, we got lots of comments coming in. Hi, guys. Great to see everybody. Keep those comments coming. If you're joining us on the live stream, say hi in the comments now. So what we're going to do is I'm going to do a couple announcements. We have a few things coming up that are pretty important. We just finished up the 2025 summer hiking challenge, and if were in the hiking challenge and you finished, comment finished in the comments below. So we do an annual party. It's a wrap-up party where we hand out patches and stickers. We give out a ton of prizes, and this year we're doing it at Birds, Boots, and Brews on December 12th from 6 to 9 p.m. at Buffalo River Works. And if you were on my live stream last time, we had a couple little visitors, little puppies. We've got another foster puppy. Come here, Porter. So his name is Porter. We didn't name him, but he just came back from a walk and he's soaking wet. But this is our latest little foster puppy. His name's Porter. Like the mountain, which is really good, or the beer, both I like. So maybe he'll be a foster fail. We'll see if he's going to be a new addition to our family. So other announcements, if you finished the hiking challenge, comment finished. I love seeing you guys finish. We got lots of finishers. I can't wait to hand out your patches. A lot of things going on. Congratulations, everybody. Foster kittens. Yep, cool stuff. We'll see what Mrs. OC says about keeping Porter around. Other things to go over really fast before we begin. We have space available for our full moon hikes. We have one on December 4th and I think January. Oh, Porter's back. And in January, so there's space available for both of those full moon hikes. The winter hiking challenge is going to start on December 21st. Now, you're hearing this first. I've been asked a couple times. If you look at the calendar, the 21st is on a Sunday. So what I might actually do is launch it on Friday, that you can register Friday, and you guys can begin hiking on Saturday. The season's short. There's a lot of trails to hike. We're going to feature 32 trails throughout Western New York. So that'll give you an extra day on the weekend before the holiday to get some hikes in. So I think I'm probably going to do the live kickoff on Friday the 19th. Hiking will start the 20th, and we'll go from there. The Winter Birding Challenge is going to kick off on December 12th. So if you're at Birds, Boots, and Brews, it kicks off on that date. And finally, this past weekend, we did a intro to writing workshop with one of OC's guides. Name is Brian Kastner. He's an author and did an intro to writing workshop at Rhinestone Woods. And we have a follow-up to that, a full day writing workshop. We're calling it Writing with the Seasons, and that'll be winter. And that will be, a full day event. It's going to be at the Trillium Nature Center, Beaver Meadow Preserve, and we only have 4 spots available for that. So if you're interested in that, check out our events page and sign up for that. So we've got a bunch of people on. I see a lot of people that finished. So if you're excited about the winter challenge, comment winter in the comments. It's going to be, I'm pretty excited to get it started. So comment winter if you're excited about the winter challenge. So that's enough about the announcements. Now let's talk to Leah. So welcome, Leah.
Thank you.
So this is the first time doing an interview. Hopefully I'm going to nail these questions. I know Leah's going to not be too nervous. As you can tell, I'm a little bit nervous. So really a softball question first is, tell us a bit about your background. Where do you work? And what is your education background?
All right. Yeah. So what I went to school for is very different than what I'm doing now. So I went to University at Buffalo for archaeology. So I worked as an archaeologist for a couple of years. So love the natural history of the area. So I was a local archaeologist in Western New York. And then I got my master's in museum studies, focusing on curatorial work, like up in the collections, managing mostly the anthropological collections in the area I worked on. Um, but then I was actually working part-time at the Buffalo Museum of Science when I was in grad school, and I have to run a lot of school programs while I was there. And then it just so happened that a full-time position education opened up. So I got that job still in grad school. So normally every day, like during the work week, I'm teaching kids. And then on the weekends, I get to go outdoors and hike. And it's really cool that the museum is part of the Buffalo Society of Natural Sciences, which includes Tift Nature Preserve. So I also get to be an educator at Tift. So I get to bring kids from all over the area out on the trails over there. So a lot of overlap, at least at Tift, with my education job, and then working for Outside Chronicles now, I get to blend those two a little bit. So definitely not what I thought I was going to be doing when I started my undergrad, but the teaching is fantastic. I love it.
So did you love Indiana Jones growing up?
Of course.
Of
Yes.
course.
That
But
was
one of
my
my one of my favorite classes in college was anthropology. I think his name was Dr. Gaffin at Buffalo State, and he was big on the Galapagos Islands, and he talked about those for
Mhm.
hours. We really didn't learn much in the class other than the Galapagos Islands, and it was fascinating. But um, that's anthropology, but you're archaeology, so I got my A's wrong, but that's
Well,
okay.
yeah. Archaeology is a subset of anthropology.
Okay, all right. So I'm in the neighborhood.
Hmm.
Um, cool. So I met Leah. She was taking a bunch of kids around Tift, and I made the mistake of saying, "Oh, Leah's one of the nastiest tour guides there are." The kids were too little to see the sarcasm, and I
And they
think
didn't know me. They didn't know
that
me at all. So they just thought I was mean.
I told her she's the meanest one, and they're like, "Who is this weirdo telling us this?" But uh, anyway, so what inspired you, your love for the outdoors?
That, I guess it really started out when I was little. My grandparents had a cottage near Rushford Lake. So instead of doing like big family vacations places, we would go to Rushford literally every weekend growing up. And the property was it um, butted up next to state land, so we had all the trails in the state land to hike. So me and my little brother would go through the trails all the time. My parents always took us to Rhinestone Woods as well growing up. So that's like really where my love of the outdoors started. Um, and then in at the University at Buffalo, there was something called the Outdoor Adventure Club. So I joined that, and then we did bigger trips around the country and just crazy hikes all over the place. And that's where I knew that I wanted to start doing this. That's how I wanted to spend my weekends as an adult now as well.
Yeah, you and your brother are big fishermen, right?
Oh yeah. Hmm.
Fly fishing or all kinds?
All kinds of fishing. Yeah, my brother, he mostly fly fishes, but we're out in the Adirondacks in the winter ice fishing. We're out in the harbor over here ice fishing as well. Streams all year round. We have a boat, walleye fishing,
So
everything.
what's your prize catch? What's been the
Hmm,
one you've taken most pictures of? And
Probably when we were ice fishing, we caught, where was it? Was it Java? We caught a 48-inch northern pike.
oh, nice.
So that was like a team effort. Um, but that was crazy because the hook actually cut my brother's hand, but I thought the fish was bleeding
Oh,
and we just both started screaming and there was nobody else on the ice and it was just echoing through the woods and it was a sight, but it was amazing.
that's a big fish to pull through a little
Little
hole.
tiny, yeah. Yeah, it was fun. And then we caught a lot of lake trout out on the Niagara River as well that were pretty big. But that one, how stark it was against the ice too, really stands out.
So I mentioned that you're a Outside Chronicles guide, and we're happy to have you, and you've done a great job this year. What made you decide to become a guide?
Hmm. Well, so I've been doing the hiking challenge since I believe 2021. So my friend, she travels the world. She works at the coolest museums around the world, and she happened to be working in Buffalo for 2 years. She worked in the exhibits department, and I was in education, and so we hit it off. And she was just like, "Oh, I'm doing this hiking challenge with this guy named Mike," and I went, "Okay, whatever." So then we hiked like every weekend together and she was just like she was you seem like you like really enjoy this and I was just like yeah but I'm like how could I ever maybe not make a career out of it but how can I do more with it. So I kept doing the hiking challenge, and then I started working at Tift more, doing tours there, so I was just like maybe there's something else for me like this. And then it was really when we did the TSX challenge and Mike through Outside Chronicles partnered together to do a trip to the Grand Canyon, a whole backpacking trip for a week through the Grand Canyon to the confluence. And I saw our guide Chris there, like that inspired me. I'm just like, you know what, maybe I could do this. And then stayed a couple of days longer in Flagstaff, talked about the possibilities, and I think like a month later, it was like the Minister Creek trip, and then the whole season happened, and it was great. So,
Awesome, awesome. Yeah, I was very convincing on the way back from that Grand Canyon trip that I think you'd be a pretty good guide, and Leah's been great on the trips. It's been great to have her. But um, so I know you haven't been a guide for a long time, but you've been doing a lot of stuff in the outdoors. What's been the craziest thing that's happened to you?
craziest thing.
Aside from your brother getting
Yeah.
getting hooked on a northern.
Hmm. Does it have to be hiking related, or could it just
Just
be
outside.
just outside? I mean, going back to my brother, he digs like holes in the ice for ice fishing, doesn't tell me where they are, so I fell through a lot of them before. Typical little brother behavior. Um, Crazy. I took a couple spills in the Adirondacks. Some some luckily I could walk away from.
Yeah, that's always good.
Yeah. I feel like yeah, just like the conditions in the Adirondacks was crazy. Um I think sorry, now
Stumped
like
ya.
so many now
Yeah,
so many
we'll come back to that.
well, can I tell a story about like what happened with like other people that we met on the trail?
Sure.
So this was so this was actually it was like yeah, it was yeah, 2 autumns ago in October, I was hiking in the Adirondacks and it was crazy. Like I just got back to Nepal from Nepal. So my friend is just like, "Oh, you got legs under you. You're good. Like let's do like this crazy like 16-mile hike." And I was not up for it in the slightest. And so like we were out on the trail longer than we expected. We had our headlamps out and everything. And we started like smelling like cigarette smoke, and I was like, there's nobody around. We didn't see any headlights. So I kind of start getting nervous. I'm just like, what's going on? And then we meet this family. And like the one guy was like kind of sketchy, and he was just like, can I ask you guys a favor? And we're like, well, what is it before we commit to it? And he's just like, oh, my son fell up to his neck in the river crossing we had to do twice. And so we like shine our headlamps on this like little 10-year-old eating the biggest Kit Kat bar I ever saw. And he was like, he was so excited. He was like, yeah, I did that. And I'm like, aren't you freezing, dude? He goes, nah, I just want to go back to the cabin. So like that was pretty insane. Like not seeing anybody on the trail in the pitch black for hours and then stumbling across this family with this kid falling into this river twice. Like that was
Kids.
that was a long day on the trails.
Yeah. Kids are resilient though, and
Yeah.
stupid.
Yeah. We were like, where did you even fall in up to your neck? Like I don't know. The creek me and my friend crossed was like 2 inches deep. So we're like, how did that happen?
They find a way.
I don't know. Kids.
All right. So I don't see any questions specifically for Leah yet, but we're going to get into our main topic. We have a couple questions to tee up from people on Facebook. They submitted them before the live event, but it's a really good segue to talk about the main topic of the things that women have to go through in hiking. And I got to say that through the hiking challenge, I've been exposed to a new way of looking at women on the trail and some of the things that you guys have to do just even off the trail in everyday life. Me and my wife went to see I forget her name. It's the nature ninja birder. She did a big year, but she had a speech around her big year and all of these crazy places that she went to and all of the weird situations that she was in. And a lot of them had to do with, safety because she's a woman. And, going to that, it really raised, a lot of thoughts in my head. She said things like, she kind of started out her conversation of, how many people in the audience, when you go into a parking lot, you scan every row and you have your keys ready and your finger on the panic button of your car. And, all the women in the audience raise their hand. And I'm like, I've never even thought, I don't live my life that way. So, I've definitely been a lot more sensitive personally on the trail when I encounter women coming the other way. And there's so many different things that I've learned. And obviously I'm not a woman. So that's why Leah's here to hopefully enlighten some of, you guys on some tips and tricks and, hopefully educate some of the fellas in the audience to be a little bit more sensitive, on the trail for women's safety and other things. So Molly in Facebook submitted a question. It says, can you talk about solo hiking and solo backpacking as a female? Any extra precautions you take?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. On the trails, if I'm solo hiking, because I do some weeks I do prefer weekends like going by myself. Most of the time I do go with friends. I do go with my boyfriend, but like, once in a while, like it is a good, just mental refresher to go by yourself. But I do take those extra precautions when I do. I always carry a whistle. I always have that in my hip pad on my backpack. So I always have that no matter what within arm's reach. I also carry pepper spray with me. I just have like a little tiny one. I keep that normally in the mushroom of my backpack or the brain. So I don't have that, right at my side because hopefully a whistle will be enough either to scare somebody or an animal or to let like other people know that something's going on. And I also have this on my key ring. So I always put my keys right in the top of my backpack. It's called a birdie. So when you pull the top of this, It makes a super loud like beeping noise, and then this is like a little light on here as well. Um, so then this flashes, and it's just super loud and obnoxious, but it does do a good, it does scare away people, animals, everything. So I normally solo backpacking or, just hiking. I always have those three things. And um, I always have my trekking poles. Even if I don't need it when I'm going solo backpacking or just hiking, I will always have my trekking poles out, just as another line of self defense. um, I'm not afraid to, I guess use them if I need to, because they do have the pointy ends. Just if all else fails, like I will use those as self defense as well. Um, but I am grateful. Like I'm 5'11", so I'm just grateful that I am taller, and maybe more intimidating to some people. But yeah, I always have those lines of defense, and I always have in my backpack as well when I'm hiking with my friends. Like I always have my whistle right at my hip, but the other things I put more like in the mushroom, uh, keep them up there instead of having it like right at my hips if I'm with other people. But yeah, like four things every time.
Yeah, there was a couple other things that doing some research for this. It's kind of some general things, but definitely pertain to women specifically.
Hmm.
Um, you can definitely leave a trip plan with somebody to let them know
And
where
yeah,
you're going, when you're going to be out, when you're going to check in with them. There are some apps, there's the Garmin InReach where you can share your location with people. But even with All Trails and some of the other apps, you can share your live location as long as you have cell service, which might be a good thing to do, especially if you're out there solo. Um,
mhm,
the other thing that kind of comes up, and again, I don't think about it too much. I do in some situations of some of the events that I've done, but you know, I would say don't post on social media of where you're going, to begin with. I see a lot of things come up on Facebook of people asking, "Hey, I need a hiking partner, and I'm going here," and like that's a little sketchy in my opinion, both for a man and a woman. Um, but definitely don't do that. And I've also seen a lot of people that will post pictures from Chestnut Ridge every Wednesday for over and over. That like think about what you're posting when you're starting to make patterns of things where you're always doing a trail run on a Wednesday at 4 o'clock or something like that, and you're posting that. So be aware of that social media component because there are some stalkers out there, and a lot of information is public, and people will start looking for patterns. Um,
yeah. The big
so
thing is too, when I go out by myself, I always tell somebody where I'm going and what time I expect to be back by. That is another thing that I always do each time.
yeah, we got I think Heather, she asked it a second time. She says, "How far and long will you go alone on a trail?"
Hmm. I have walked the entirety of Allegheny State Park, which was, I think, 19 miles, 18, 19. I did that by myself in a day.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I mean, I started before the sun was up. I think I ended around like 3, 4. Like I was out on the trails for like a good like 9 hours by myself. Um, And that day, it was Memorial Day. It was a couple years ago I did it. And I did not encounter anybody, not a single person out on the trail until I got to the Quaker site at Mount Tuscarora.
Hmm.
Um, so that I guess I lucked out with not having to encounter anybody. I got to see all the wildlife. It was all to myself, which was great. But typically my solo days, I think around like 4 to 5 miles. So I typically don't go super, super far. And that day I chose to do Allegheny because my family was in the park. So if anything like terrible did happen, I knew they were in the park that day. But if I'm going to Chestnut Ridge or Beaver Meadows, I'll probably do 4 or 5 miles by myself. Um, Tell somebody where I'm going, when I'm going to be back, and then um, let them know as soon as I'm back to the car or back in service.
Yep.
So normally it's just a couple miles.
Plus, it's really boring not going with somebody. I find myself, there's a lot of demons that start coming out in my head, sometimes for the good. A lot of good ideas come out. But
Hmm.
when I'm on that trail for too long solo, you start thinking about everything. And it's much better to be on the trail with a bunch of friends. So Kim, you didn't see it. I posted, Kim carries a taser. So we're not going to mess with Kim on the trail. So, and then we had another question come in. Heather asked, is there a course for women to prepare for solo hikes or some self-defense basics or awareness safety classes? I don't personally know of any, but
I know
there's probably
there
some
is,
general ones.
yeah, there is self-defense courses. My girlfriends actually took it somewhere in South Buffalo, I want to say. They took a self-defense course last year.
Hmm.
So there are general self-defense courses in the area. The name is escaping me where they went. It wasn't, I feel like it was at a community center. It wasn't
Okay.
a gym. Yeah, but I have seen courses available for that. I
But
personally
those are
have
those are general, not specific for hiking.
not specific for hiking, no.
But I think the mentality is about the same. Like,
Yeah.
stranger danger. You look for things. It's and then obviously fighting somebody off, right?
Hmm.
All right. So, any other questions about safety? We got a couple more topics that we're going to talk about. So Kim says Strava has a text you send to someone so that they can follow along as you hike as another measure of safety. Yeah, there's another app. I think it's called Karen, like the rock stacks, where you can set a time, and if you don't return, stop the timer on the app, it'll text somebody and let them know that you're behind schedule. Let's see, Vanessa, she's retired military. I take a self-defense seriously. Preparation is best before the event happens. Absolutely.
Hmm.
Any other questions on, safety, solo hiking, kind of doing these things all by yourself? Anything, just post them in the comments. Looks like everything's working as expected in the comments this time, so that's good. If not, I got some other questions for Leah and other topics to go over. Again, if you have a bunch of topics or questions for Leah that you want to cover, post them in the comments. Even if they're not women related, we can certainly answer other questions about the outdoors, whether it's gear, Adirondacks, whatever it may be. Post your questions. I'll queue them up and we can get to them later. So one thing, I hope I don't blush as I ask you these questions, and I wrote it down, and ironically, it came out as the 3 Ps. So can you talk about pee, poop, and periods?
Yes. Yeah, doing all sorts of stuff on the trail. I guess I'll start with pee. Is I have something called a Klua cloth. So it's about like this big. It's a piece of antibacterial cloth that I use just when I go pee, and it has a little strap on it. You can clip it to the outside of your backpack, so it doesn't smell. It airs out, and it becomes, completely germ-free, easy to use for however long. Like I used that the entire week in the Grand Canyon, never had any issues with it, would just leave it on my backpack on the outside to dry, and never anything, happened with that. And it saves on toilet paper, which was my big thing. I didn't want to carry around a bunch of toilet paper for a week. So I used that for the entire week. And then all I did when I got home, I just soaked it in a little bit of laundry detergent, and then it was clean, ready to go for my next trip. So that's what I use for number one. For number two, I have a trowel. Gotta dig, cat holes. Everybody has to go. Um, So yeah, dig those, 100 paces off the trail. away from your campsite. Um, I do like bringing wet wipes, but like I have everything in Ziploc bags. So I have my wet wipes in my Ziploc bag, and I have another bag for used ones. Make sure to seal that up nice and tight. You don't want to leave anything behind, and then just bury everything. Um, on trips, I know I I'm not as regular, so I don't do that, I feel like, as much. I need coffee, as Mike knows, to actually be okay on trips. Um, so I only bring a couple wet wipes. Maybe some people want to bring more or bring toilet paper instead, but I always have that Ziploc bag for the garbage as well. And then periods, I mean, it sucks as women and you have like a really fun trip you're looking forward to and you have it during that time. um just like the emotions are one thing and then actually dealing with all that is another thing. So to save space in my backpack when I'm backpacking or hiking when I have my period, I always bring tampons. um so just to save space, and I feel like they're just cleaner to use out on the trails, because pads, like, I don't want to chafe it all just in case, it's a hot day or anything. So like I always wear tampons on the trail. Some of my friends, they use the menstrual cups. I personally do not, I don't use those. But that is a very like clean and sanitary thing to use. And then they dig a little cat hole, pour everything in there, rinse it out with their water bottle, all set to go. Um, so that is the one thing to use with the least amount of waste. But same, like I have, my garbage bag with my wipes. I just put everything in there. Sometimes I put a little baking soda in the bottom of it just to like help the stink. And then I always, put it in um uh why am I escaping the name of it? Another bag, the like your garbage bag, Mike. The like Sea to Summit, like why can't I
Oh,
think of the
like a
name now?
dry bag?
Like a dry bag. Sorry, guys. So then I just put all my stuff in one dry bag, so I know that is like my bathroom period bag. So yeah, just make sure everything is nice and tight. Bring as much as I think I need. Always bring a couple extra just in case. But that has served me well for the past couple years out on the trail.
Yeah, you know, I obviously don't know a whole lot about this, but I do know Leave No Trace has a an article about this and goes over just about everything Leah just talked about. The one hack that I'll give you, whether it's we'll talk either poo or period, I guess. Uh, so you can get dark garbage bags, like small bags. So you can, instead of using like a clear Ziploc bag, you can put the garbage and the yucky stuff in the dark bag first, and then put it in the clear Ziploc bag, so you don't have to look at
See it. Yeah.
stained kind of stuff. And Leah did mention, did you say you put a little
I have a little bit of baking
baking
soda.
soda? Um,
Mhm.
Powdered bleach is another thing that I've seen people use for that. I know in the Grand Canyon when we have groovers, we have to coat it with powdered bleach. If you have something like that, that's also something that you can put in the bag to curb the smell as you open it. But yeah, I don't have to deal with that. Sorry. I'm sorry you have to deal with that on the trail and in life in general.
It happens.
So, any questions on the three P's as I put them? And I like yours number one, two, three.
I guess that only applies to women, but
Yeah, right. We've got a couple questions queued up that I'll come back to. Um, so, let's move on to gear differences. That's another interesting thing because I know certain things are fitted better for women's body structures and shapes and gaits for different things like snowshoes. So can you talk a little bit about kind of like women specific gear that you use, you found difference between better for, than a men's version?
hmm. Try to think. It's bad. I mean, my boots are men's boots.
Right.
I know.
I
So,
know like
um,
specifically snowshoes. There's
Hmm.
uh,
Mine are
there
near.
are women and men's versions, and the women's versions are they say they're made for a women's gait, which I would believe is a narrower
Hmm.
kind of feel to the snowshoe. I also know sleeping bags are also shaped slightly different, with a little bit wider at the hips. Um,
Yes. Yeah, that
I,
is that. Yeah, I do have a women's specific sleeping bag right now, and yeah, yeah, the hips are wider. Um, that's one of the main ones, and then my winter jackets are more tailored.
mhm.
Um, so they're like narrower, like around the waist, which I personally like because then they fit better. I can actually fit more like tighter layers underneath it, and I feel warmer with that compared to like a baggier jacket over the top. But that's just my preference. Um,
The other piece of gear that I know that I've seen has two different versions are backpacks. And I'm not
yeah,
100% sure the exact difference, if there's a slight torso difference, but I know they're colored different. They
the
have different colors, but they're also usually slightly less liters. If it's a 65 liters for a men, it'll be a 60 liters in a women's version.
yeah, my Osprey version is 64 compared to like 65 for whatever reason. Um, I feel like us women pack more clothes for just in case circumstances, so I wish ours were a little bit bigger. But then um, I believe my day pack, I have an Osprey. I think it's a 30, I want to say 36 liter. I remember when I was trying it on at Gear for Adventure. One of the workers said this has a longer torso compared to the men's version.
Hmm.
And then the shoulder straps were a little bit different too.
Right.
They're a little bit more narrow. Um,
Yeah, I
but
can't think of. I know, like, you can buy gaiters that are different. I don't think there's a huge difference. It might be just the size. Um,
yeah,
I don't know of other gears that are
I mean socks
specifically
as well. Socks are different.
really
Yeah, like Darntoff has like the women's versus the men's socks.
just
Um,
is it size difference or
just
proportion
size.
difference?
Yeah. I mean,
Interesting. I guess I
I
didn't know
always yeah,
socks.
yeah, I always get the women's ones because the designs are cuter. So I like those. But like if me and my brother are going out fishing or whatever and I forget a pair of socks, like I'll just wear his. Like I don't feel much of like a size difference. I just feel like the designs and the colors for women are different.
Hmm. Yeah, I can't think of any other gears that are pieces of gear. Obviously, clothing
Hmm.
is different. Um, the other it's good that they have different versions that work for different body types, so that's
Hmm.
a good thing. um, yeah, I have just one more kind of topic to go over, and um, I'm not sure how we're going to answer this, and I'd be curious to see what you are. I wrote down mental, and what I was thinking with this question was, there's always I've been in trips this past year, and there was that guy on the trip, kind of like down talk to the women, and actually the women kicked his butt. Um, and I always say I never underestimate a hiker. I've seen marathoners crash on the trail. I've seen people that don't look like they're the athletic build crush it on the trail. And I feel that's the same way about women. And I've seen it in raft guiding. I've seen it now at climbing walls. Women have a little bit different approach because you don't have the strength, in a lot of areas, but you make up for it in technique. And watching a female raft guide or kayaker is somebody that just works with the water, understands the water. They don't muscle the water. It's it, it's a different experience, and I see that now on a climbing wall as well. Um, but I think there is this, kind of you know, it's a male dominated outdoors. I think it's changing quite a bit, but I
Hmm.
still think there might be that stigma. Do you feel, is there that idea that women aren't strong enough on the trail? I have a completely different viewpoint on that, but I know there's still that women can't do it. You fish. That's another place, women and fishing isn't a common thing.
Hmm.
Um, so can you talk a little bit about the mental side of it?
Yeah. I feel like with my one friend Katie, she can kick my ass any day. Like she is so strong, so much stronger than I am. Like it's crazy. So like after meeting her, I'm just like, yeah, you know what? Us women can do anything. Um, but yeah, just telling people that like that's how I spend my weekends. I go hiking. I'm a guide now. I guess from men specifically, I always get the, oh, really? Like, um, type of answer. And then like I feel like I always have to like explain myself. Like I feel
Hmm.
like I always have to prove myself, but because they don't accept that women can do these really cool things.
Right.
Um, so that has been like the biggest barrier for me, like this past hiking season, like meeting new people at work and everything, and they're like, what else like do you do for your hobby or for fun? And I tell them, and then I always get the, oh. So I feel like the people not, judging a book by its cover is still happening every day.
Hmm.
Um, but I mean, I've started looking past that. I don't care if they don't think I can do it because I know I can do it. It's my job. Like, so I just keep going through. I just keep doing what I love, and who cares if they don't think I can do a good enough job? They're not
Exactly.
out on the trails doing it. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, I do run into that quite a bit.
I've experienced complete opposite where the women outperform the men on the trail and
Mhm.
could run circles around them. So,
Yeah.
um,
I mean, what we were at a gas station. What was it? I think it was the Saranac. No, no, no. When we were going out to the Sewards, and I was
mhm.
wearing my Try Unlimited shirt, and this guy stopped me, and he was just like, "Wait, do you actually fish?" And I was like, "Come on! Like, why did you have to ask it like that?"
Yeah, unfortunately, in the outdoors, I think there's still a stigma for women. Definitely, people of color. It's changing. I think it's shifted. I see a lot of women in the outdoors doing some amazing things and huge hikes, huge adventures.
Mhm.
I hopefully people of color will feel as welcome. To be in the outdoors as well. Hopefully that shift continues, but I know it's across the outdoor industry, and I hear it on all kinds of podcasts, and you know it's still a male dominated kind of a male chauvinistic outdoors mentality. So hopefully you can keep breaking those barriers, uh,
Mhm.
and you know what, don't just let them be their idiot self, and be happy on the trail, be proud of what you've accomplished.
Mhm.
um, all right, so that's kind of all I had for the women specific things. I have a couple more questions to go through that were submitted beforehand. So let me pull that one up. And you mentioned one thing, pepper spray, but Chrissy asks, how are ways to protect against attack, man or beast? Um, any other any other suggestions? We've had a suggestion of self defense. You mentioned bear spray, trekking poles. If right, that's
If
another
need be.
another thing. So yeah, there's definitely we I think we've hit that one pretty good. And then here's another interesting one, and I'm not 100% sure which way this question was asked. I didn't do a follow up. So for the most part, is hiking solo at Chestnut Ridge safe? And I look at that two ways. One, is it safe from a woman solo hiking perspective, or is it safe from a just a terrain perspective? And I would say no trail is safe. I was at Chestnut Ridge where um, a woman dislocated her ankle coming down one of the hills. So slips and falls can happen just about anywhere.
Mhm.
Um, one thing I will say about Chestnut Ridge is there's a lot of people. There's a lot of people that are non-hikers there because they're
Mhm.
going to the Eternal Flame. But in general, it's a busy park. but that doesn't mean it's necessarily safe. What do you think about that?
Mhm. Yeah, I feel like I solo hike at Chestnut Ridge a lot. I've never felt in any sort of danger. I hiked, every season. It can get a little sketchy in the winter with some of the hills. They do get pretty steep. I mean, I have slipped on the ice a couple times here and there. Um, but yeah, hiking around there solo. I typically avoid the Eternal Flame area because that is like the most populated part of the park with like people who aren't accustomed to hiking all the time.
Hmm.
Um, so I normally go like on the Boy Scout trail, the orienteering trail a lot of the times, like around the entire park, and I've never had any issues. Um, and normally, it's, women like me, just wanting to get out, enjoy the outdoors, solo for a couple hours here and there. Um, yeah, I never had any issues there. It was good. And I
Yeah.
do notice a lot, like I also have a Garmin, um, when I, solo hike, and I notice that like all the other women that I pass are also solo hiking, like always have like on our chest
Hmm.
strap. So, we're all staying safe.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's a double-edged sword, right? It's a popular place, but that's also, if there is a creeper, it's someplace that they can target.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm going to go to some other questions. That's all the questions that were submitted beforehand. We have a couple things in queue. And Diane asks, what about training for women to get in shape for hikes with elevation?
Mm. I normally go honestly to Chestnut Ridge and just walk the pipeline, or I love going up to the gorge, um, up in near Lewiston, and I just do the stairs up and down and up and down. There's one Saturday during the summer I just like walked the stairs up and down for like an hour. Um, I do that. That's mostly what I do for elevation, and I go to the gym. So like on the treadmills during my classes, like we like simulate hills. So like we run at like a 6% and then go down to like a 3, down up to 6, back to 0. So that's like more like cardio with terrain elevation change. That has helped me a lot. Like actually running, going at a higher elevation than just doing the pipeline. But both ways are helping me a lot with my elevation endurance.
Yeah, and I don't think this is a women specific question. It's the training is very similar, and it's a lot of zone two elevation, whether it's at Chestnut Ridge, Devil's Hole, some other hill that you can repeat, stairs at UB or a stadium, your high school stadium, or a stairmaster, or like you said, uh, treadmill at 7%. You can always put a backpack on to make it a little bit harder. But it's that long zone two workouts, getting into the elevation training. I'd also say that there's strength. Do you do strength training as well, Leah?
Mhm. I do weightlifting every week. Um, the gym I love going to has specific like weight training classes. Because I'm the type of person, if I walk into a gym, I'll be intimidated and I don't know what to do. So I love going to my classes, and the instructor tells us exactly what to do, exact like what types of weights would be best, if it's like if we should use like medium kettlebells for this move, or like if you're up for it, like heavier kettlebells. So I always like make sure we're safe first doing all these moves, and I've learned a lot
Hmm.
from going to those classes like twice a week. So I love doing my strength
Yeah,
training.
I'm a firm believer. Just it's zone two cardio, just increasing the volume over time, and
Mhm.
then heavy weight training.
Mhm.
Doing squats and lunges and step ups and bench press, shoulder
Yeah,
press, all just basic exercises, deadlifts. But I
reverse
think I
hinges
think
have helped
both
a lot.
both men and women benefit from strength training, and you'll benefit in the trail as well. So
Mhm.
I think you have to do both ends of the spectrum of that, not just all cardio. You do need to mix in that strength, And, the cardio workout's a little bit different because we're not runners. We're going for long distances and elevation. So that keeping it the heart rate in that zone 2. So I've done classes on this and training classes. So if you're interested in it, let me know. We can, definitely talk about that more coming up. Okay, so that's good question. Really good question. Okay, so Joyce says Wolves Jiu-Jitsu in Buffalo has a free women's self-defense class on Sundays between 11 and 12. Thanks for that, Joyce. Wolves Jiu-Jitsu. Okay, next one. Sarah asks, quilt or sleeping bag? Which do you prefer and why?
I never used a quilt yet, so I am biased towards a sleeping bag. But I know you use a quilt, Mike.
I'll say I haven't switched to a quilt for winter. I still use a 0-degree sleeping bag, but I love my quilt I have a 30-degree quilt that I use just about every other season. I love it. I wish I actually had something in between 30 and 0, but I just like the quilt. I'm a side sleeper. I roll a lot, and it's just so much more comfortable. And I'm a firm believer of the quilt. You save a little weight. I really enjoy a quilt. Good question.
I guess I like being cocooned.
Is there a course for women to prepare for solo hike? I think we already did this one. Or some basic self-defense, which Joyce chimed in on. Does anyone use a Go Girl came up? So there was
is that like the funnel thing? I've never personally used one. None of my girlfriends who hike, I don't think they've used it.
Yeah. I think I was on a trip where people were using it, and they said the advantage is you can use a bottle inside your tent like men do, which is a advantage that you don't actually have to get out of your tent to go pee. You can do it right in the tent. So no experience with that, sorry. Okay, next question. And what kind of Garmin do you use, or is there just one kind? So good question. So I'll take the first part of it. So Garmin makes a lot of different products. I have a Garmin watch. They make full-on GPS devices. And probably the device Sarah's asking about is what we mentioned is the Garmin InReach. And they make 2 different models currently. They have a Messenger and an InReach Mini. I personally have the Mini 2. I think the Mini 3 just came out or is coming out shortly. There is also a Messenger, which is, it looks like a puck. And the big difference between the two, there's some, they from a satellite communication standpoint, they do the same thing. You need to have a subscription. You're able to send text messages to friends and family, as well as an SOS. And what I know between the 2 devices, the Messenger has a little bit more battery life and a stronger antenna than the Mini InReach 2, which is probably why they're coming out with a new version. The Messenger also allows you to send voice texts as well as photo texts, which is, again, probably newer antenna, newer hardware for the Mini 3. The Mini 3 does have some breadcrumb navigation, so you can actually load tracks on it. You can track back to where you are. Where the Messenger, you'd have to use your phone app to get that breadcrumb. It doesn't have a display to show you that. So there's trade-offs between the two. If you don't have one, my suggestion is go with the Messenger. It's got some great features that you can back charge your phone using the battery. It's got a better battery life. It works just as good. It's just, it won't be hanging on your backpack strap unless you get an accessory. So they do make like little sleeves that it'll go into, but you can just put it in the brain of your backpack and it'll work just fine. So I prefer that. So newer phones. So we're looking at iPhone 14 and above now has satellite messaging in it.
That's what I was going to.
Which will give you SOS, It'll also give you text to your friends. The disadvantage of that is it does take a lot of battery, so you need a backup battery, and you need to point the phone at the satellite, where the inReach you can just send the text, and the antenna is always trying to get a satellite message or a satellite connection. So you just kind of send it and forget about it. Where the iPhone, you have to actively search out the satellite, sit there, wait for the message to go through, and then any replies. So it's a trade-off, but there is capability in the phones. And I will say the other flip side of this is if you don't have an iPhone that has the satellite in it, Starlink is available through T-Mobile. If you have T-Mobile service, I believe it comes with it. And if you don't, you can get it. And that'll allow you to use satellite communication with a regular cell phone. And there is a gentleman in our hiking that have been on a bunch of the Adirondack trips that has that, and it works quite well. So there's trade-offs, there's cost trade-offs, there's performance trade-offs with each one, but they're pretty ubiquitous. A lot of hikers have them. It's an extra way to communicate if you're definitely going out of cell service.
Yeah, like I normally just use my dad's Garmin when I do my solo like longer hikes, and it's an older Garmin and it only has like presets on it. So I can say like here like hiking, and if I'm hiking, for the whole day, like I can just like every couple hours just keep press hiking, and it actually just sends the message to my mom and my dad's phone.
And with the location, which is important.
Yeah, so that, and then I have been using the satellite messaging more, so that works pretty well. Except if you're in like a very like dense forest area. So it didn't work in the Adirondacks as much as I would like it to. But like when we were at like the reservoir down in Pennsylvania, it worked perfectly. Like messages went through within like a couple of seconds.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so if there's a lot of tree cover, like dense canopies, like you can't actually point your phone towards one of the satellites because it has trouble tracking it.
Yep.
But in open areas, it works great.
Yeah, it's great to have. Technology's great, and it definitely has saved a lot of lives. Okay, so I don't see any more questions. If you do have any more questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. I have some wrap up, like a lightning round for you, Leah, if you're up for it.
Okay.
All right. So we're gonna start out with a this or that lightning round. So you got to pick. You can only pick one. You can't say both. So you got to pick. You got to pick one of them. All right. Hopefully these are softball questions. Trail runners or hiking boots?
Hiking boots.
Mountains or lakes?
Mountains.
Fiction or nonfiction?
Nonfiction.
Nutella or peanut butter?
Oh, peanut butter.
Pizza or tacos?
Tacos.
Hammock or tent?
Tent.
Sunrise or sunset?
I want to be a sunrise person,
You're not.
but I no. Sunsets.
All right. What's your favorite outdoors book?
Ooh. I want to say probably Into the Woods by Bill Bryson.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, classic. Or Into the Wild too. I love that one by Jack Kerouac.
No, Krakauer. John Krakauer.
Sorry, wow, Krakauer.
Yeah. Kerouac's another one.
Yeah.
He's on the road.
Yeah, yep.
Favorite place to hike?
The Adirondacks.
Okay.
Just the hiking area. Yeah, okay. King Valley specific.
All right. So if I gave you $1 million, where would you adventure first?
I mean, honestly, Machu Picchu. I'm so glad that dream's coming true.
Cool.
Yeah, definitely like South America, I feel like.
All right. What's your least favorite and your favorite thing about what you do? And this could be guiding, this could be your job at the museum, whatever you want to, whatever context you want to use.
My least favorite, I'll start, I guess. Um, how do I, I guess, working with, um, no, I can't say that.
Yeah, be careful.
Um, I don't know.
Well, what about guiding?
My
What,
most
what
favorite,
what's
my
what's
least
your least
favorite.
favorite thing about guiding, and your favorite thing about guiding?
Well, my favorite thing was like gonna be how I can actually work at TIFT, like guiding, like being with the kids, because I absolutely love teaching. Because I normally only teach up to like second grade, so I have like the pre-Kers through the second graders is the best. Um, so that is great at my museum TIFT job. And then guiding wise, just getting to meet so many different people, like learning about like everybody's like way of life, and then realizing that Buffalo was such a small community that like somehow everybody knows each other, which is crazy. So actually, just like the connections has been the best part, and being able to experience some of these like beautiful places um, with people who like now I can say are like some of my friends that like I literally, you bond very fast on the
Hmm.
trails. So that's been great. Um, and obviously, every time we summit, we get tequila shots. So that is one of the best
Of
parts. It's great.
course.
Um, yeah, least favorite and the guiding. Like, I can't think of anything super
Oh,
negative
that's
at all,
good.
honestly.
At least
Yeah.
you didn't say me, so that's good.
Well, some of the car rides are really long.
Okay, well we'll go with that. We'll
Yeah.
break it up with some pizza from Stewart's. So
Stewart's
awesome.
and
So
milkshake.
you made it through the lightning round, and thank you for being on here. Thank you everybody who joined us. Leah, great job answering the questions, and hopefully people learned a little bit about hiking and women's tips and tricks for backpacking and hiking. Thank you very much for being here. I will do just a quick announcement for we are going to do this again. Brian, one of my other guides, Brian Kastner, who is an author, doing the writing workshops, going to be in on December. So if you have questions or things like that you want to talk about with Brian, he'll be on for that. Uh, now that you see the format, feel free to ask questions beforehand. We're happy to go through all the questions on live, and hopefully you like this and we'll do this again. So uh, just want to say happy Thanksgiving. Go Bills still. We still love them, right? And look for a live event to lead up to the winter hiking challenge, and hopefully we'll see everybody at the wrap up party on December 12th. So thank you, Leah. Appreciate you being here. And uh, the only thing we have to say is everything I do at the end of every video, I say, see you outside, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, everybody. Have a great night. Thank you for joining us.